Are your surface operation standards and guidelines, oil and gas exploration development, the Gold Book, fourth edition, revised 2007. United States Department of Interior, Bureau of Land Management, U.S. Department of Agriculture, Forest Service. All right. Moving a little bit closer. Chapter 1, Introduction, Surface Management Agencies, Filing Plans, Environmental Analysis, On-Site Inspection, Term Final Reclamation, Environmental Basic Practices, Best Management Practice, Stipulations, Conditions, Approvals, Other Federal, State, Tribal, Local Permits, Authorization. Chapter 2, Geophysical Operation BLS, Bureau of Land Management and Forest Service Requirements. Split estate minerals administered by the Bureau of Land Management. Chapter 3, Permit and Approval, Lease Operations, Initiating Process, Drilling, Application Options, Surveying, Staking, On-Site Inspection, Environmental Review, Permit Approval, Variances, Lease, Stipulation, Exemption, Waivers, Modification, Bureau of Land Management right of way and Forest Service Special Use for Authorization, Other Authorization, Exploration, Development, Split Estates, Indian Lands, Bonding. Chapter 4, Construction, Maintenance, Well Sites, Road, Access Ways, Transportation Plan, Road Design and Construction, General Design Specifications, different types of roads, road maintenance, drainage and drainage structures, pipelines and flow lines. Chapter 5, Production, Operation, Drilling and Production Operations, General Operating Standards and Objectives, Well Completion Report, Subsequent Well Operations, Approval Procedure, Project, Startup, Modification, Measurement of Production, Disposal, Production Water, of disposal, produced water, pollution and control, hazard waste, safety, emergency action, noise control, visual scenic resources, painting of the facility, placement, production facility, inspection, enforcement. Chapter 6, Reclamation and Abandonment, Reclamation, Objective Reclamation, Planning, Pipeline, Flowline Reclamation, Well Site Reclamation, Road Reclamation, Reclamation of other assisted facilities, Water Well Conversion, Inspection, Final Abandonment, Approval, Release of Bonds. Chapter 7, Appeal, Bureau of Land Management, Administrative Release, Forest Service Appeals, Bureau of Indian Affairs, and list of commonly used abbreviation acronyms, and then appendix of Bureau of Land Management and Forest Service officer locations. It shows appendix 2, and then list of figures. Alright, Chapter 1, Surface Operations, Standard for the Guidelines of Oil and Gas Exploration, Development Compliance, referred to as the Gold Book, was developed with assistant operator to provide information requirements for the obtaining permanent approval of conducting environmental responsible oil and gas operations on federal land and private surfaces over federal minerals over, including exploration, production, reclamation, associated right-of-ways, and special use authorizations. The Gold Book provides operators with a combination guidance for ensuring with the compliance with the agency policy operating requirements those found with the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 43, CFR 3000, Title 36, Code of Federal Regulations, and Part 228, Subpart E, onshore oil gas orders. Onshore orders, notes of leasers. Agencies filed with the official with the website can provide with more detailed discussion of specific procedures, requirements, copies of regulations, onshore orders, notes of leasers, and other agencies possibly currently in effect. Every production authorized by the Federal Oil Gas Leaves should conform with the USDI, Bureau of Land Management, USDA, Forest Services, other agency standards reflect the relevant site-specific conditions, knowledge of the Bureau of Land Management, Resource Management, management plans, and Federal Surface Plan and Resource Management plans, as well as agency operations, standard procedure, environmental protection requirements, help and operators to meet these standards. Surface Management Agency, Federal Oil Gas Lease over the surface operations and managed by the Bureau of Land Management in cooperation with appropriate federal surface management agencies, non-federal surface owners with the National Forest System lands, for the Forest Service of the approval authority, surface use of the portion of the federal oil and gas operation for appeal for the related with the Forest Service decision and approval, early coordination with the Bureau of Land Management and appropriate surface management agencies, Bureau of Indian Affairs, Office of the Encouraged Procedure. Rules and requirements vary by agency reservation, and Appendix 1 provides a map showing the Bureau of Land Management, State Office of the Regional Forest Services, Office of Address, and telephone numbers. Filing plans. Onshore oil gas number 1, describe the procedure of filling of the application permit for the drill and the re-enter for the APD Form 3163 for the notice for the taking NOS, followed by the application of the drilling permit, or the APD Appendix 2, forms and formats, required information, early contact discussion, Bureau of Land Management, Surface Management Agency highly encourage expedited approval of the APD. Recommended that the contact may be prior to the commitment of the dates and equipment in excess of the route of the acquisition and preparation of the APD. The operator is required to complete the APD package for all the operations, including with the National Forest System land, but as appropriate with the Bureau of Land Management Office. The completed APD package must include the APD Form 3163 with a wet plat of the drilling plan, surface review of the plan of operations, evidence for the bond coverage and the operator certification according to requirement of the onshore order number 1, drilling related surface distribution operation not allowed, or not allowed without approval of approved APD. Required for the change of the approval of the APD must be submitted to the Bureau of Land Management prior to approval of the sun-dried notice for the Form 3165. The operators encouraged to file the APD sun-dried notice with well completion reports, Form 3164, through the Bureau of Land Management electronic filing system. Contact the Bureau of Land Management State and Field Offices for the further information on electronic filing options. Our environmental analysis. The Bureau of Land Management is applicable with the Federal Forest Service, responsible for ensuring compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act with the EU. Upon receipt of the complete with the APD for the formal proposal for the encompassing multimedia wells, and specifically the Bureau of Land Management, Surface Management Agency operators, environmental contractor will conduct the environmental analysis, prepare the environmental document conformance with the requirements of the National Environmental Policy Act and regulation of the Council of Environmental Quality, regardless of the agency, of the individual prepared for the environmental analysis document with the Bureau of Land Management and the Federal Forest Service. Forest Services active with the National Forest System's lands must concur with the content of the prior to issuing a decision document. In the case of the non-forest National Forest System, where the environmental analysis conducted jointly with the Bureau of Land Management, each agency will issue with its own decision. Extent of the environmental analysis process for the time of the frame issuing the decision will depend upon the complexity proposed action and the result of the analysis of the significance of the environmental effects are disclosed and the completion of the appropriate consolidation process. On-site inspection. Before approval of the APT for the on-site inspection will conduct with the operator and to further identify site-specific reservoirs for the protection and concern with the requirements of prior to, in conjunction with the on-site inspection for the Surface Management Agency, will provide for the operator if any special inventory sites are required, such as for the cultural resource for the threatened and endangered species. And term and final reclamation. Object for the reclamation for the short term of the provided site stability, basic resource for the productivity, final goal of the reclamation with its restore of the character of the land and water, the breed disturbance condition, operative the responsible for completing the reclamation activity necessary to achieve short-term objective of the use of the abandonment, establishing with additions on-site with the impediment existed with which of the prevent achieving the final goal to reduce areas of the disturbance not need with the long-term operation in terms of the reclamation initiated with the areas as well with the active well facility location pipelines road wells as well the completion operation facility with the installation operations conducted with all surface disturbances associated with the plugged wells and facility abandoned must be reclaimed after the operation has been conducted. The final abandonment notice include the final reclamation will not be approved with the Board of Land Management until reclamation work is determined to be successful by the Bureau of Land Management in consultation with the Surface Management Agency and the surface owner. Our environmental best management practice. Environmental best management practices are BMPs, are state-of-the-art mitigation measures designed to provide safe and efficient operation, minimize the undesirable impact of the environment prior planning of the consultation among the operator, surface management agency, non-federal surface owner, with the proactive incorporation of environmental best management practices into the APD surface use as planned. Operation operator typical result of the more efficient APD with environmental review. The best management practice within the photograph include the two-track primitive road, full interim reclamation road and well pad, flow lines, electrical lines buried deep within the road, remote monitoring to reduce the traffic as well as the submersible pump, and small well box painted with a bland and with a background. The process increased for the operating efficiency, reduced for the long-term operating cost, reduce the final reclamation need, less impact environment. Stipulation and condition of the constraints that are consistent with the rights of the granted with the lease of the imposed with the location of the accident of the road, well site, with the facility site, with the time of the geospatial exploration while well drilling and other operations. Constraints may resolve the lease with the stipulation of the Surface Management Agency review of the environmental analysis, proposed operations notes for the leasers, onshore orders and regulation of the consultation with the State Historic Preservation and Office for the Tribe and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services is required at the time needed with the APT review extended by the result of additional constraint on the operations. Other federal, local, and federal, tribal, and state local permits and authorization. Permanent right of way with the other authorization board of land management. Surface Management Agency required unless the otherwise expected for the onshore order with the notice of the leasers on leases. Uses such as disposal for the water authorization, use of the sand and gravel, the glass fairing on leases and uses such as facilities, roads will require right of way with the authorization further from Surface Management Agency that all facilities located on the lease owned by parties to the other operate will require authorization. Surface Management Agency Bureau of Land Management approval of an APD does not believe the operator to obtain any of the authorization required for the drilling and the subsequent operation. This includes requirements for the other federal and tribal, state, and local authorities. And then shows some deer in the picture. Chapter 2, Geophysical Operations. Testing.